Assalamu alaikum akhawati, ikhwati, assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you, that's what that means. My name is Tahani, to those who do not know me. I'm the director of the Social Services Department here at Al-Hijrah. I welcome you all today for joining the Family Support and Awareness Program. Let me remind those who are new the purpose and the vision of this program. It's actually to bring awareness to you as families, as newcomers, refugees, immigrants, families. And it's not specified only for women. It's actually for a family at large. So we welcome your husbands to come, or brothers or neighbors, and it's open to the community at large. So please communicate with your friends and let them know about what we have here every Tuesday morning from 10 to 12. The purpose of having those sessions is really because we had so many families coming up to us asking questions about affordable housing, asking questions about different subjects, know your rights, how to deal with the school social workers, what's the ADHD, what's ADD, if my child is accepted into the program at the school, is that good for my son or is that bad? They really don't know much about how things work and how the system works, especially if you are new in the country. And also the other piece of this program is to bring the friendship, inshallah. Yani for those who are new, they don't have much of connections, not many of their family around, they would come and socialize, make friends, network. So inshallah, yani we're trying to cover on those pieces as well. Last week we started the first session. Alhamdulillah, we covered the affordable housing. We had the guests from the Family Shelter House, from Domestic Violence Shelter House, and from CSP. They came and they brought brochures of teaching us what the proper way of using the system. And when you want to reach out to a shelter, you don't just go walk in a shelter if you get evicted, God forbids. You have to go through the system where you would call a number for Fairfax. If you are a Fairfax resident, if you are an Arlington resident, there's a number to call. And the whole intake will be done over the phone. So from there, they would place you in a shelter once that unit is available. It might take hours, it might take days, it might take even 2 weeks or up to a month, because the shelters, subhanAllah, they're all full these days. So I want to make sure we all understand the steps of how the shelter works. That's why we started last week with that subject. I want to also recap some of the information we covered last week, which is Section 8. I know many of you are asking about Section 8. There's no Section 8 available in Virginia, specifically Fairfax County, but there is Section 8 available in different states. I know there is one available in Bristol, Virginia. There's one in West Virginia. There's one in Montgomery County. And mashallah, and Edwina would actually cover on those again from last week, just to make sure you all are aware of those availabilities. Some families now are considering to move to a different state for that voucher, which is actually a good choice, because here, one-bedroom apartment costs around $1,500–$1,600. In different states, you get the whole house for $900. So, yani, subhanallah, yani, we have to reconsider if we are a family, a large family with minimum income. This is one of the choices that you might consider. And we as Dar al-Hijrah, we would help you also move toward that step. We would help you cover the transportation, maybe the first month rent. I know the shelter house would also join forces with us to cover the second month rent, but you have to go through the process as well. So this will give you a nice fresh start. Some people stay in different states for maybe 6 months, a year. If they like it, they stay. If they don't, they end up transferring to the area, which is the last on my list to bring to your attention, because it's really an expensive area to live in. So this is a recap of what we had last week. This week, we will, inshallah, cover many good, great resources, alhamdulillah. We would cover the home ownership and relocation services of Fairfax County Housing and Community Development. And we will also have some printed materials of the overview of housing options for older adults provided by Fairfax County. Area Agency on Aging. Okay. We also have our guest, Ms. Carol Earhart. She's the director of the Home Ownership and Relocation Services Division. She's joining us today to cover on that program and bringing to you the program. MashaAllah, when I learned about it myself, I was really amazed of the benefits of those programs. she informed me that there's many units becoming available on 2017, where if you are a new homeowner, or maybe for 3 years you did not own a house, so you'll be qualified. So even if you were a previous homeowner, if it has been over 3 years, you're qualified to apply with this program. If you never had a house under your name as a homeowner, you're also qualified. So let's say a unit is sold for $400,000. If you're qualified with this program, it would cost definitely way less, for maybe $100,000, $115,000, $120,000. So that's definitely way less than the marketplace. But there's some criteria for eligibility. She will definitely cover more on details of those. And let's go ahead and welcome Ms. Carol Erhalt to come and cover more of those information.
Is that better? Oh, yeah, I can hear that's better. Okay. So, even though I'm here to talk to you about home ownership, I used to oversee the Section 8 program in Fairfax County. So I do want to give you a little bit more update about that program. While the waiting list has been closed for 10 years, in 2017, the waiting list will be opened. We don't have a date for that just yet. We're trying to work through some technology, and as soon as we get the technology up to speed, there will be an announcement that the wait list will be open. You'll be able to apply online, so you don't have to have big, long rush to the office to apply.
Translation took off for 5 seconds.
Oh.
If you can repeat that.
Okay. Okay. So for the Section 8 program in Fairfax County, they'll be opening up the wait list sometime in 2017. We don't have the exact date yet because we have to update our technology for the new vouchers. But there will be an announcement in public media when we will be opening it at least a month in advance. So you'll have plenty of time to prepare for it. You'll be able to apply online, so you do not need to come to the office to apply. You can go to any public library, use their computer if you don't have a computer, borrow one from a friend. You can even go to some of the county human services agencies if you need help with your application to do that, but you'll be able to do it all online. It will be a random selection. Last time we opened the waiting list, we had over 20,000 applications. So what they'll do this time is they'll take all the applications, they'll estimate how many people we can actually get to in a 2-year period. Then they will randomly select that many people. Maybe it will be about 2,000 families out of however many apply. And then we will go through the entire list. So it'll be a random drawing. So it doesn't matter when you apply as long as you apply within the time frame available. As another opportunity, there actually is privately owned Section 8 development units in Fairfax County. And if you go to the Fairfax County website, I didn't know what you learned last time, but actually Fairfax County is not the only entity with Section 8 in Fairfax. There are privately owned properties where they have a direct contract from HUD to give a subsidy at that property. You can only get the subsidy there, so if you want to move, you would lose the subsidy because the subsidy is tied directly to those developments in Fairfax. But we do have a list of all those properties available, so I can get you the link to the website, and you can see all those properties that are privately owned Section 8, and you can check with them to see if their wait lists are open as well. As part of the Section 8 program in Fairfax County, we offer a family self-sufficiency program. That is to help you increase your education. If you're not employed, it helps you with employment skills to get a job. You can set a goal for your family of education. Maybe you want your kids to go to college, so you save up for their college or your college education. Or you can save it for home ownership, which is what I hope you do because I want you to be a homeowner with my program. But whatever your goal, then as your income goes up, they save that increase. It actually goes into an escrow account for you. So as your income goes up, you're saving that money. You still pay the same amount of rent, but then we put money in escrow for you. So that's the money that you'll have when you graduate from that program. You'll have that money for college or that money to put a down payment as a house. So that's a program you should look into once you get a voucher with our program. So what I gave you today are 2 pages that talks about the home ownership program here in Fairfax County. It is a 4-step process. The first step is to come to an orientation session. And on the back of this 1 page, this gives you the link to our website for the list of the orientation sessions. We have 1 session coming up November 7th at Mount Vernon High School in Alexandria. If you're interested in home ownership, you can attend that one, or we soon hope to have our 2017 schedule posted. Use this link and you'll be able to see other dates. We have some in North County at the Government Center, and then we switch and have some in the South County office as well. That's the first step to go through, is to come to an orientation session where they will give you a lot more detail about the program that I'm going to give you today. I'm going to give you a good bit of information, but they'll give you a whole packet with the applications and everything you need to apply for the program. So when you come to the orientation session, they're going to tell you the basic eligibility criteria, and one of them is that you have to be a first-time home buyer, or if you've sold a home in the last 3 years, you can't have owned a home in a 3-year period. There are some exceptions. If God forbid you get divorced or something like that, and you separate and your spouse owns the home and you no longer own the home, you don't have to wait that 3 years. Or if you're a victim of domestic violence and you become displaced because of the domestic violence, again, you don't have to wait 3 years. Or for seniors, if you actually own a home as a senior and you want to sell it because you need to get into a more affordable home, as long as you sell your current home before you move into a senior property, you don't have to wait 3 years. So after you come to that orientation session, the next thing to do will be go to its Virginia Housing Development Authority homeownership training. It's a 6-hour class. Again, on our website, we have the link. I don't think it's here, but there is a link to the VHDA training classes. They offer them all throughout the county, or even outside of the county. If you don't live in Fairfax, but you live in Loudoun or Woodbridge or Prince William, some other jurisdiction, you can go wherever you want to get that homeowner education class. You can do it in the evening, you can do it on the weekends. There's a multitude of times you can do it. They even divide it up. If you can't do 6 hours all at once, you can do 3 hours one night and 3 hours a second night, so you can divide it up and go to the class. At the end, they give you a certificate saying you passed the homeowner education class. That's a requirement for our program, is to have that certificate in hand when you apply. The next thing that you'll do is go find a lender, and you're allowed to go to any lender that you want. They just have to agree to abide by the program rules, which has a foreclosure benefit for you. Most lenders, if you're late on a mortgage, they only have to give you about 6 weeks' notice that they're going to foreclose, and sometimes even less. In our program, they have to give you 90 days. And in that time, if you're having problem paying your mortgage, there's things that we can do to help you to get back current with your mortgage. So your lender will have to agree to that when they do the underwriting for you. But what they're going to do is they're going to collect all your income information, and that's not just wages. It's if there's anyone in the family that's getting disability benefits, anyone that's getting workers' comp, anyone that's getting welfare, if you have a pension from a retirement plan, even if you get regular gifts, if a family member is paying your car note every month for you or paying your cell phone bill every month for you, that's all counted as income. So they'll look at all of that income and your assets. They'll see how much money you have in the bank, and they will look at their underwriting criteria and do an estimate of how much house they think you can afford. As was mentioned, our program does not provide down payment assistance. Some of the banks will give you down payment assistance. They have for low-income homeowners, they have those benefits available. The benefit our program gives you is you're getting a comparable market rate home for about a half the price or even less than a half the price of what the market rate would be. As developers have built Fairfax County out, they had a requirement to give us a certain percentage of those units in the development as affordable homes. And so that's how we get the homes we have, the developers as they're building, and they're almost all built out. But we do still have some new affordable dwelling units coming online at the Vienna Metro Station, and that's the ones I was mentioning. The market rate homes there go for over $400,000. We're selling them for about $115,000 right now. We just filled 4 this year. We're expected to get a few more next year and maybe a couple more after that. Then the county's going to what they're calling a workforce development program, and Tyson's Corner is the first place where they're building those units. So it'll be a slightly different program than our current ADU program, but we will still be getting some units for affordable home ownership. So once you get the lender letter, that's the other thing that you have to bring to us to qualify. So you've got your home buyer education certificate, and you've got your lender letter, and you've got your orientation packet. You bring those 3 things with the completed application, and my staff will help you go through the criteria to make sure that the application is filled out completely. We'll look at your credit report, as does the lender. We look to make sure that you have a credit score. If you're going to be on the loan or the deed, you have to have a credit score of at least 640 for each family member that will be on the loan or the deed. If you've had a bankruptcy, it has to have been at least 2 years since the discharge of that bankruptcy. The one thing that we do not allow is any foreclosures. So if you've had a home before and the bank foreclosed on you, unfortunately you won't be eligible for our program. The lender will also look at what's called a debt-to-income ratio. So they'll look at all your income, and then they'll see how much income you're currently paying for rent or wherever you're living. One ratio they look at to see is that you don't pay any more than 35% of your income for your mortgage. So they'll look at what you're currently paying and see if you're over the limit or under that limit. Then they'll look at your total debt, which is your credit cards, your car payments, any other things you have to pay. And they'll look to make sure you're not paying any more than 41% of your income for that. So let's say you have a monthly income of $2,000. They'll look to make sure that no more than $800 of that dollars is spent for your rent and your all your other debts. If you're paying more than that, they'll be asking you some questions, as we will, as to how are you going to be able to afford that home. Because the last thing we want to do is give you a home that you can't afford because your debt is so high that then you go into foreclosure on that home. So that's the reason we look at those ratios. Now, a lot of times the reason your debt is so high is because of your rent. So if that will go down, that's once you own a home, like I said, on a $115,000 mortgage for these new condos we have, the average mortgage with these interest rates for today is about $800. So it's significantly less than what you're probably paying for rent if you're paying market rate rent right now. If you've had any collections, we ask to make sure that you've got the collections on your credit cards all caught up. We do not allow any co-signers. So if you've got somebody back home that has a lot of money, they cannot co-sign for you. If you're applying here, we're looking to your income and your debt so that you're the family that will be able to maintain this home. So once you've come to the application session and we have all the material that we need from you to apply, then we give you a first-time home buyer certificate. That certificate allows you to come to open houses and enter the lottery for any units we have available. As you can see from the front of this brochure, we have townhomes, we have condominiums, we even have a few single-family homes in our program. So people that are living in those homes now, when they want to sell, they have to come back to the county to sell it back to us, because what we do is we turn around and we sell it again to another first-time home buyer family. So even if you don't get a new unit, we have many desirable townhomes and single-family homes in areas throughout the county. They're not brand spanking new, but they are in good condition, and again, they're still considerably less than what you'd be paying at a market rate for those homes. This gives you kind of the guideline. We have homes selling anywhere from between $95,000 and $190,000. So as you can imagine, where are you going to go in the county and get a home for $190,000? That doesn't exist except in our program here. And you can take your time and look at this eligibility criteria. Also, some of what I've been talking about on the financial criteria is on this little checkerboard here. It talks about the credit score of 640. It talks about no bankruptcies or foreclosures and no co-signers. And we look at the late payments and judgments. Here's the income to debt ratio. I just talked about the 35% and the 41% of your income for debt. Collections have to be cleared up. We also ask that you have at least 1 month of reserves to pay in case anything happens. Sometimes, you know, you're in the home and somebody loses a job temporarily. We want to make sure you've got some reserves that you can draw from, not only to pay your mortgage, but once you own the home, you're responsible for everything in that home. If the dishwasher breaks, you've got to have some money to repair the dishwasher. If the HVAC unit goes out, you've got to have some money to fix the HVAC. That stands for heating and air conditioning, basically, unit. So once you buy the home, you're responsible for maintaining that home, you're responsible for paying the mortgage, and you're responsible for every legal requirement. One legal requirement is that we send our first-time home buyers a letter every year making sure that they live in the unit. And they certify that in front of a notary. We have notaries at the office, so people come into the office, we certify that. You have to send that back to us saying that you're living in the unit and you are not renting out any part of that unit. The whole purpose of our program is to make sure that low-income families get in. So if you don't need the home and you want to try to rent it, we get very upset because we say, wait a minute, we gave it to you because you told us you needed an affordable home. So the last thing we want to see are people renting out their units to other people to circumvent the program. So we take that very seriously, and there are penalties if you violate that provision. So that's the number one thing, is that we want to make sure that you're living in the home that we actually provided for you. So that's really the whole program in a nutshell. We do have priority points. If you live or work in Fairfax County, you get 5 points. If you have children under the age of 18, you get 1 point. You don't get 1 point for every child. You get 1 point if you have children under 18. And you get 1 point for every year you're in the program. So the maximum you can get after 3 years is a total of 9 points in the program. So when we do a drawing, the people with the most points come up at the top of the list that express interest in the home, and we go through those people first. Having said that, we have some homes where people with much fewer points have gotten in. So I don't want those priority points to discourage anyone, because depending on the location and the type of the building, we might not have people that are interested in buying it at any particular time. So that's why we have the open house, so that just like on the private market, you can come and see the home. And then you tell us, are you interested in the home or are you not interested in the home? Of those people that are interested, we do a drawing, and then we do a selection. If we have people that aren't interested in the home, we actually list them on our website. We call it immediately available, because they are. Somebody could come off the street, go through this process with one of my staff, and if they qualify, purchase a home the next week. We don't currently have any immediately available units, but we have had some recently in the past. We never know who's going to come to us with a home, so we never know where they're going to be. People say, where do you have homes? Where do you have homes? Well, it depends on who comes to us, where the home will be located. But we always post them on our website when they're available, as long as you have a certificate and you meet the minimum income, like we had a home that did sell for $175,000. So you have to make sure your lender says you can afford $175,000. If you can only afford a $150,000 home, you're not eligible for that particular drawing, but you would be eligible for other homes that are at the $150,000 range. So that's why we have the lender letter, so we can see, can you afford the home we're trying to sell, or can you not afford the home? So I know I've given you a lot of information. Like I said, the first thing to do is come to an orientation session if you're interested in that. The other thing, and part of the reason I mentioned the Housing Choice Voucher Program, is because we do have some people that come and buy one of our ADUs with their Housing Choice Voucher. And just like in the voucher rental program, the voucher pays the difference between 35% of your income and what the rent will be. So if your family makes $1,000 a month in income, you would pay $350 towards your rent, and the voucher pays the other $650 towards your $1,000 rent, let's say, or they pay whatever the difference is. Same thing if you buy a home. If your family, you have to have at least $25,000 in income a year to buy the home, so that's about $2,500 a month. So let's say your family makes $2,500 a month. In a homeowner program, you only pay 30% of that. So you'd pay $750 towards your mortgage, and then the voucher would cover the rest of the difference between what you can afford and the mortgage on your house up to a certain amount. So that's a really good benefit for people, especially when they're buying an ADU, because they think, oh, my voucher's going to let me buy a mansion in Fairfax County. No, it's not. It's not going to let you buy a mansion, but it will let you buy a modest home, and it will certainly let you buy one of our affordable dwelling units. So I know I've given you a lot of information, but I've also left my card, so if you have any questions. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is that we will provide translation services for every step of the way in the process. Whether you come into our homeownership storefront, or you call and you say you need a translator for the orientation session, we'll arrange a translator for the orientation session. If you need a translator for the VHDA classes, we'll arrange a translator for that. If you need a translator to go talk to your lender, we'll arrange for that. If you need a translator to come into the application session, we'll arrange for that as well. So you just need to let us know your translator. We do ask that you have an email address, because we'll send you an email confirmation. Like if you were going to this session on November 6th, where is it? Here. November 7th, excuse me. If you said, I need a translator for this, about 3 days before November 7th, we'll send you an email and say, are you still planning to come to the November 7th session? If you say no, or you don't respond to our email request, we cancel the translator, because we don't want to pay for a translator for somebody that's not going to show up. But as long as you confirm, yes, I'm still coming, I need the translator, we'll have a translator there for you. So I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Correct. So one question was, are these the maximum income limits for the program? And yes, your family has to make at least $25,000. That's the minimum. And then the maximum is based on household size. So for a family of 4 in 2016, and these are good until April of 2017, that's when we get the new income limits. If you have 4 people in your family, the most you can make to qualify for our program is $76,000. If you have 8 people in your family, you can make up to $100,000 and still qualify for the homes in our program. The question was, do you have to live in Virginia to apply? And the answer is no, you do not. We do give priority points if you live or work in Fairfax County. So presumably the reason you want to apply to a Fairfax County program is because you work here or you want to live here. But if you live or work in the county, even if you're currently living somewhere else, you would get the priority points. But if you live and work in Maryland right now, you can still apply, you just won't get those priority points. So the question was, if one spouse owned a home somewhere else and the other spouse is here and does not, that can a person file in their own name? In the state of Virginia, as long as you're legally married, we have to count the income from both husband and wife. And we have to also count the ownership status of both husband and wife. So if husband still owns a home somewhere, that would make the wife ineligible unless she's filing as a displaced homemaker. We'd have to look at that, though, and see why there's still the home in another country. Because if you own a home anywhere, it would disqualify you. Now, I thought you mentioned he owned it somewhere 15 years ago. It doesn't, and still owns it. Okay, so that would disqualify them that does disqualify them from being able to purchase on the program because he's a current homeowner. The question was that she is renting and the rent is very high and unaffordable, and you're in an overcrowded situation. So actually there is not only the voucher in Fairfax County that will be coming available, and other, I'm sorry, somebody did bring the list of other HUD Section 8 project-based Section 8 buildings in Fairfax. So this is the whole list of other places with Section 8 in the building. So that's an option for her. There is a program in Fairfax called Bridging Affordability, where we take families from homelessness and give them a subsidy. It doesn't sound like she's homeless, but it sounds like she might be at risk of homelessness. If she's working with a nonprofit provider in the community to prevent homelessness, they may in fact refer her for that voucher. So she could she has the option to get affordable rental housing. She would not be able to buy on the program because her husband owns a home, but she could get more affordable housing for herself. The question was, do we have special consideration for refugees or seniors? And the answer is there is not a preference for refugee on the first-time homebuyer program. Sometimes we have developments that are designed specifically for people age 55 or older. In that case, you have to, no one in the household can be under the age of 18. Again, that would be a preference just for seniors. But as far as the drawing, seniors on any other market rate house, there's no priority for seniors. It's just what we ask on our application is, does anyone in the home a person with disabilities? Because we do have some units that are wheelchair accessible. So we also ask, is anyone in the home 55 or older, and are they interested in living in a senior community? Every once in a while we get units coming up that are wheelchair accessible or in a senior community. So when we have those drawings, we absolutely do prioritize those groups. When we have a wheelchair accessible unit, if there's somebody in a wheelchair, they get to the top of the list ahead of everybody else, because obviously we want to see a wheelchair accessible unit go to somebody who needs that unit. And obviously same thing in a senior development. Well, you have to be a senior, so they would have sole priority for those drawings. But for all the other drawings, there is no priority for that. Well, if she's homeless and she's working with Coordinated Services Planning, they would make a referral to the Bridging Affordability Program. That is the fastest way to get a place to live, go through the 1-800-222-0880 number. They'll make a referral to a family shelter, and sometimes you don't even have to go into the family shelter. If they can get you a certificate and get you into affordable rental housing, they will. But that's the fast track to get the Bridging Affordability voucher. It's like a housing choice voucher, but the nonprofits administer that program. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know you already did Bridging Affordability. They'd have to look at your particular circumstances. I don't know why you're not in the program anymore, but I know that they obviously were trying to prevent and end homelessness in Fairfax County, so they would work with your circumstances and see what led to that. Well, I can't imagine. It's hard to imagine that after 2 years they'd rather have you go back to homelessness than see you through. I know they've extended the voucher for some people. They didn't in that case. Yeah, I mean, I would suggest, I think Kathy Bridgman is the person at Northern Virginia Family Services that oversees that. If you haven't talked to her, I would suggest that you contact Northern Virginia Family Services and see what happened in that situation. Well, it absolutely matters because we have everything from one-bedroom units up to, actually we have a few homes that are 5-bedroom. So when we have a drawing, let's say we had a 4-bedroom townhome recently, the preferred household size is a household size of 4 to 8 because up to 2 can go into a bedroom. So if for some reason none of those families are interested, we'll open it up to other people. We actually have had single people get 2- and 3-bedroom units because they became immediately available. And in that case, we don't look at the household size. But clearly, if you have a household size of 6, we're not going to put you in a 2-bedroom unit because you'd be overcrowding that unit. So we do look at the bedroom size and try to match the family size to the bedroom size unit that's available. Yes, yes. Your income just can't be above that. It can be under that. It can be between $25,000 and that limit there, but it can't be over. So anywhere in between, you're okay. If you're just barely over $25,000, you're not going to qualify for much of a home, which is why I suggest sometimes the housing choice voucher. But as long as you're making $25,000 but less than the maximum, you'll qualify. Well, thank you. Seeing no more hands, Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you for the valuable information. 55. Excellent. Excellent. So if you are a 55 and older, there's more resources for you here on this sheet that you might qualify for housing. 55 and older, not 62. 55. نعم. هذا إذا الواحد عمره 55 بقدر يعبي على هاي البرامج فإله برامج مختلفة بتكون ميسرة أكتر. We would like to welcome Brother Abdul Rahman from Faith. He's also working with the Family Shelter House and Faith of Herndon. He would, inshallah, concentrate on Faith today, not the shelter. So his questions and answers would be toward the Faith services in Herndon.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome. As Sister Tahani said, you know, a lot of people know me here. I wear a lot of different hats. So as she said, please, I have my Faith hat on today. So don't look at me as Shelter House or Patrick Henry or Catherine Hanley or any of the other things, Adams Center or many of the places that you know I work. What I want to tell you about today, inshallah, is a little bit about the Faith Self-Sufficiency Program. I'm sure you heard sometimes they misrepresent the information about the program, so you think that there's a lot going on that's not going on. Faith has a self-sufficiency program that has 6 units, only 6 units. And these units do not become available very often. There's sometimes a 2-year wait period in order to even enter one of these units. And at the time of the opening, you have to, it's all timing. It's all timing that you have to be at the right place at the right time. That your family has to apply. You have to go through a very in-depth interview. And some of the things that Faith would be looking for if you are considered for a unit, as you keep in mind self-sufficiency. You have to have the ability to be able to move forward. It's not a long-term program. It's not a program like some of the programs, it's not Section 8 or a voucher program. You have to have the ability or the apparent ability to move forward to self-sufficiency, meaning that you would have to have some plan to be able to become self-sufficient to pay your own way in affordable housing. And that's sort of like a opposite. When you say affordable housing in Fairfax County, it doesn't match because there's very little, if any, what's called affordable housing for low-income families. So in coming into Faith's unit, one of the things that you keep in mind is becoming self-sufficient. How they help you become self-sufficient is that you have to have savings. You have to start a savings right away. And the purpose of the savings, or paying what might be almost market rate rent for these units, would be that every dollar that you pay coming into this program, it goes into a savings account for you. Now, this savings account would have a couple of benefits. Some people use this time to pay off debt, because sometimes the reason you can't move into housing because you have a large debt and you can't pay rent. So in the time you're in this program, all your savings may be used to pay off this debt so that you can find a way to be eligible for affordable housing, to pay off debts you might have from living in another unit where you were put out the unit, or to some landlord, to credit cards. Any number of debts that would keep you from being able to pay or enter into a unit to become self-sufficient. One of the other purposes of being in the self-sufficient unit, the money, is that we have recently helped a couple of families in the course of a year or 18 months. They've been able to accumulate over $30,000 and to go into the first homeowners program. So during the period that you would be in this program, you may save up, because if you're paying, you do the math, just quick math in Fairfax County, and most of our families are not small families. We have large families. So you say a market rate in Fairfax County might be $1,700 for your family. If you're able to save $1,700 for 2 years, you do the math. At the end of those 2 years, you have a large chunk of money. You have already become eligible for the first-time homeowners program, and you go right in and you become eligible for the low-income first-time homeowners program. And this can usually be taken care of with a very small income. One of the other things that self-sufficiency requires you to do, it gives you the opportunity to reach some sort of training, some short-term training that you will be able to have a marketable skill to pay your own way. Because many of the families that we come in contact with, they don't have a skill set. So this will give you an opportunity to be in a housing situation where you're not stressed out about paying rent, and you can learn a skill that will take care of you down the line. One of the other things that it does, we've had not only people in situations where they need to find employment, we have people who are on fixed income, who have SSI, and things of this nature. This is also a time when a person, even on these type of incomes, can also save money and still go into a first homeowners program. Because you're a senior or a person with a disability does not exclude you from being able to be a homeowner. One of the other things that it keeps in mind, that it also allows people that are in these situations to become eligible for the low-income senior housing. This is another thing that it allows you to do. In addition to that, what it does is, one of the requirements of the program, it is something that that's exclusive to people who are within the Islamic faith, because these particular units are connected to people who have allowed us to acquire these units through waqfs or endowments, that they want to see people to benefit themselves spiritually and emotionally. So in the time that some of these people's in here, it gives them the opportunity to become involved with their spiritual connection with the program at different particular masajids, to have a chance to receive counseling that may benefit the family, the children, as well as the husband and wives or the single mothers. It also gives them the time to assess to further their education. As I said, without going on and on, the important thing to keep in mind is timing. That if you keep connected with faith social services, we have some social workers there, and they have a file on different clients, and they know the family sizes, they know the family situations, they know a lot of things about the families. And when a unit becomes available, they would be able to know if a person would fit some of the requirements to go into this unit. But one of the things to keep in mind is that during the course, and all these are things that are looked at, that usually your history will tell a little bit about your family. And people who know me, they know that I'm a reality person. I don't say things that I don't mean, and I don't try to hide certain things so you'll know the truth. When I tell you something, it's going to be the truth, and I don't try to hide it. It may hurt, but I'd rather tell you the truth up front so that you don't have false hopes. If I meet you today, and 2 years later, you're in the same place that you were 2 years ago, and I'm telling you about moving into a self-sufficiency program, and over the last 2 years, you didn't make any change to better yourself, what do you think I would look at of putting you in a program that you're supposed to become self-sufficient? If in the course of 2 years you didn't make any changes in your life to become self-sufficient and you didn't have any barriers that kept you from doing certain things, why would you think you would be on a high priority list of going into a program that's designed for people to move forward and become self-sufficient? So I'm telling you, this is a reality check, is that many of us don't have barriers that keep us from doing certain things. We're not saying you don't have barriers, but I'm saying that sometimes you have to overcome these barriers. That's what barriers are there, and they're there to be overcome. And these are things that people look at in every program. And when people talk about programs, you have to come out of a mindset of being in a program. This is all about housing and self-sufficiency. You have to come out of a mindset of being in a program. You can't expect to be in a program for the rest of your life. If you go into the mindset of a program, your children pick up this mindset of being in a program, and then the only thing that they're looking for is someone else to take care of what we're supposed to take care of ourselves. You can't expect your children to be any better than you are if you don't pass on certain standards, if you don't pass on certain habits to them. So I'm saying that we have to work very hard to become self-sufficient, and that's what this is all about. As a community, we have to work together to become self-sufficient, and you all are part of that wheel, that everything you do affects this entire community. Everyone in this room affects the other person. As we know that in Hadith, we talk about that this community, that we're one body, one ummah. If the eye hurts, the whole body hurts. So we're not separate in this quest. This is why other providers are here, because we are one community and we're here to move forward. So without going on and on, as I said, that this program of self-sufficiency with faith is a very small program that has only 6 units. Inshallah, maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us more units, because we're always trying to increase the number of units, because the need of people trying to acquire affordable housing in this area is a gigantic need. And if we had 10 more providers in this room, it still wouldn't come close to fulfilling the needs that we have for affordable housing. As I said, that this, putting these two words together in Fairfax County is very difficult, affordable housing and Fairfax County. And with that, I will leave any questions that you might have open for the Faith Self-Sufficiency Program. So again, most of you all know where to find me. It's everywhere. So, and I'll do whatever I can to help you in this, yes. You're not put out the unit. I mean, people are not evicted from a self-sufficiency program, but we would review after 3 or 4 months like any other homeowner, that after a while, if you no longer pay rent, then yes, you would probably become ineligible for the program, and you would take the amount of money that you would give, that you saved, and you would be take out of the program. So yes, no, we consider everything like and that's part of the hardships of being and becoming homeless, is that if someone becomes sick or they lose a job, their income drops off for a while. So yes, we would consider that. We've had people in that program that are not, they can't pay rent for a month or 2 months, and that we understand it. You know, you pick up after that and you continue into your savings to build to your ultimate goal. So as I said, that most of you know me, you know where to find me. And as I said, my hat with faith is I do supervise or oversee or have some influence with the self-sufficiency program. And the other hat with Shelter House, I'm the family permanent supportive housing specialist. So some of you know I'm no longer in the shelter. I haven't been there for years. What I do, I work with the housing community throughout Fairfax County, not only with Shelter House, but with UCM, with New Hope Housing, and I'm all over the whole Fairfax County. So that's my job with Fairfax County with the RISE program. I deal with some people just on a small level with the BA, and I come in contact with other vouchers. So I do a lot of different things. So inshallah, at any point, Sister Tahani know how to reach me, and we would like to collaborate or anything, like you said, that we've had partner collaborations with Al-Hijrah, with Faith, with Adams Center, with Shelter House to try to move people into affordable housing, not only here. So when you keep in mind affordable housing, you have to also sometimes make a big decision to leave Fairfax County. And that's one of the things that we've done with a lot of families. When we talk about that, you have to sometimes make a decision that Fairfax County is not for me and affordable housing. So we do help families relocate to other parts of the United States because that's where your family will be better off. And sometimes you have to reach that ultimate, that hard decision, and we try to help. We can't make a decision for you, but we sometimes try to tell you that sometimes you need professional counseling and professional advice to make the right decision for housing for your family. And sometimes you find that you will do better off in some other place, just like most of us that look around this room made Hijrah from someplace else. And the purpose of making Hijrah is to find a better living situation for your family. And sometimes people make a Hijrah first place is Fairfax County because you ended up here, but sometimes you have to make a decision like the Prophet ﷺ, he loved Mecca so much, but he made a decision to go to Medina. And he always loved Mecca, but he never left Medina. So sometimes you leave a place that you love. I'm sure most of you loved home. You left home, you came here. Now this is home, and so may it be time to find home somewhere else that can be better for your family. So Jazakallah khair, thank you for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Inshallah, if you have no income, does not mean you're not eligible for a program, but you do have to have the ability for some income at some future date. There has to be some light at the end of the tunnel. You can't come in and say, hey, I can never work, so I can never have an income. Then this won't be the program for you because this is a short-term program, self-sufficiency. And that's like a lot of people, they have the BA voucher. The BA voucher is not a Section 8 voucher. You know, BA voucher has an ending. Section 8 has a longer time. SSI would not mean that you're not eligible either. If you have an SSI and your SSI is significant, it can go to a savings, because I had one family that did have SSI and they saved a lot of money and they were eligible for the first time homeowners program, because you can, if you have SSI, say of $1,000 a month, or you have some way to have $1,000 a month income, and you go into affordable housing unit and the mortgage, the payment is only $700, $800 a month, then you're eligible. So if you have a picture like that, it would be a good picture, that you have a lifetime income, you save some money, you didn't have bad credit, That's not a bad picture. Sometimes people say it's a bad picture. Not too bad a picture to me if I had the lifetime income and I was able to save money for 18 months, that I had $18,000 or $20,000 and I was eligible for the first-time homeowner program. I went in and I became eligible. I had $18,000, $20,000. It's not beyond a self-sufficiency program saying I give you 2 years of shelter and this will give you a home for life. That sounds pretty good to me. So that's a good picture.
What he said is absolutely true about the voucher program, because most when you are what we call a working family, and you come in, you raise your kids, you and or your spouse are working, there's a 15-year limit on the Housing Choice Voucher Home Ownership Program. So after 15 years, you would have to assume the mortgage yourself or sell your home or go back to the rental program with your voucher. But when you are a family with disabilities, there is no time limit. And that's because a lot of persons with disabilities want to be able to have a home in a neighborhood near their doctors, near their support groups. And so the SSI is what pays the mortgage for persons with disabilities in their home. And they're allowed to stay in their home until they can no longer take care of the home, and then would sell it like any senior would at that stage. But the Housing Choice Voucher Program absolutely allows that maximum flexibility for persons with disabilities. So, great program.
5 minutes to 12. I wanted to bring to your attention what Arlington County has. I actually spoken to someone who's in charge of the housing grant this morning. And in regards to Arlington, there is a housing grant. There is something available there, up to 60% of rent, but you have to be an Arlington resident. You cannot rent a basement. That's what you told me this morning. You cannot rent a basement and apply for this grant. You might, by renting a basement with someone, you can go ahead and apply, and you have 60 days to find an apartment of your own. So I just want to bring that to your attention. If you are interested in moving to Arlington, or if you are already in Arlington, please consider that you have to be either 65 years of older to qualify, or disabled according to SSI. And if you are a working family, children under 18. So إذا عندكم أولاد under 18, you're qualified to reach to the Arlington County House Grant. And also, of course, an Arlington resident. Okay, I just wanted to run this quickly by you guys to keep it in mind. Yes. I asked her, no, you have to reside in Arlington. I think years ago they considered working or residing, but now it's only residing, yeah. في سؤال تاني? Any more questions? Okay, let's go ahead and move forward, inshallah. We want to ask Edwina Jackson. She's the director of the Domestic Violence Shelter House. She will share with us a few points and highlights from last week's session. We'll make it quick, inshallah, to move forward to our next speaker.
Okay, here we go. Good morning, I'm Edwina Jackson. I was here last week, so, and I'll just quickly kind of recap what we talked about last week. I'm the program manager for Rapid Rehousing Program, and I was the program manager for Domestic Violence Supportive Housing. The new Rapid Rehousing Program is actually, we will prioritize those who are fleeing, who had to leave their homes because of domestic violence. So this program is very new, it's HUD funded, and we don't even have any clients in the program yet, but more than likely we will take clients directly from the shelters. I wanted to specifically just touch base a little bit about, I heard someone say that they were probably at risk for losing their apartment or having a hard time paying their rent. If you are actually in an apartment or a home right now and you are not able to pay your rent and you are at risk for being homeless, you should call that 222 number. It's 703-222-0880, and let them know that. There are funding sources that can help you for 1 month or maybe 2 months. It's emergency services grant, I think, emergency support, ESG funding. If you call that number and just let them know, they will do an assessment. They will ask you about your food and your clothing and children's education and all that other stuff. Do a mini assessment to see what other areas, life domains you might need some assistance in. Not just your housing. I used to rent out a basement years ago. I don't have that luxury anymore, but I used to rent out a basement years ago, and the tenants downstairs, they could not afford to pay their rent. They did call that 222 number, and I actually, because I was the landlord, I was actually, they paid me 1 month rent because that's 1 month she just could not pay. She would have been homeless. ESG funding, it can go if you're, say, for example, your income has decreased by $200 a month, they may even help you $200 a month for a number of months to keep you in your home. So there's resources out there you just kind of call. And what I do when I call places, I ask for that person's name so I can have a reference, just so, like, who am I speaking to, please? So then if I have to call back, I can say, well, this person told me this. And so you just kind of make sure that you just advocate for yourself and learn all you can about what the resources are. So back to Shelter House. Another good program that we have, aside from the domestic violence, of course, we have Patrick Henry Shelter, which I think we spoke about that last week. That's for larger families that are coming into shelter. And as we said last week, shelter is the last resort. You just don't want your family in shelter. You have to share with a whole bunch of other people, and they're coming from all walks of life. And you just want your children to be stable, and you want to be stable so that you can thrive in school and work and all that good stuff. But sometimes circumstances does not allow that to happen, and we end up in shelter. So if that's where you need to go, then you call that 222-0880 number and let them know that you're going to be evicted, or you have to leave wherever you are. Or because if you tell them that you're staying placed, at a friend's house or something, even though you're homeless, then that's not considered homeless. Unless you're going to have to leave that friend's house soon, or whatever the case may be. So we have Catherine Hanley, which is in Fairfax, and that is a family shelter as well. Patrick Henry is for larger families. We also have off-site units. We have RISE, which is permanent supportive housing. There's criteria for that. You have to have CPS involvement. There's a lot of barriers. Those are for families with a lot of barriers. And they have child protective service involvement, mental health issues, the income, low income, and I can't think of any other criteria, but those are the main three. And we also have Artemis House, which is the only 24-hour domestic violence shelter in the county. And then now we have the new rapid rehousing program. The main thing I wanted to talk about was community case management, which you can also call that 222 number. If you are at risk for being homeless, you may be able to receive case management support services. And that may just be because that whole goal for case management, community case management, is to keep you where you are. So you will be assigned a case manager, and that case manager will work with you on determining what funding source can help you with paying your rent, trying to locate another housing option for you if you have to leave where you are. If you're having issues, if you don't have enough food in the house, they will refer you to Our Daily Bread or one of the other pantries in the area. And I know you have a wonderful pantry here as well. If you need clothing, or if the kids are having some issues with school, and then your schools, your children's schools are also another resource to kind of tap into if you're finding out that you're having some issues. You can always, it's a good thing to talk to the schools, only that if the kids are coming to school distraught or upset, I would rather be the parent that go to the school and say, this is my situation, rather than having the kids go to the school and saying, this is my situation, than CPS coming to you about some things. So if it looks like you're proactive and you're doing what you're supposed to do with your children, and you're reaching out for help to try to get resources, then that could benefit you and your family as well. And I think basically for Shelter House, that is it. We have several programs, of course, and all of our clients come through the program through many of the CPS do CSP, Coordinated Services, that 222 number, and they come in through the shelters that way. And the other programs we kind of take from those that are in the shelters. And you'll see a lot of programs run that way. Like Cornerstones is another program that's very similar to Shelter House. They run Emory Rucker Shelter, that's in Reston. And they also have housing vouchers. I can't remember exactly the name of it. They're vouchers just for that house, project vouchers. Yeah, project-based vouchers. So project-based vouchers, as mentioned a little bit earlier, you can't take that voucher with you. It's not like a Section 8. Section 8, you can take it with you. After 1 year, once you decide you want to move, you can take your voucher with you. Project-based vouchers are not like that. You have to, it's only for the unit. So once you leave the unit, then you lose the voucher. The voucher's gone. So I know Shelter House is working on obtaining some of those. And I know Cornerstones have those now. But what they do is they go to Emory Rucker, since that is their shelter, they go there first to try to get, to see if there's anybody that may fit the criteria or qualify for those programs. If they don't, they open it up, and they will send out vacancy announcements. So if you need some assistance, I would suggest trying to get yourself a case manager, calling that 222 number, getting yourself a case manager, then that way we will know about what the programs that are available, what vacancies are available, and we probably could assist you a little bit further. Any questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you. I know. Excellent. I want to ask Alejandra to come and join us. She's from Fairfax County Neighborhood Community Services. We're actually partnering with them. She's done a great job reaching out to different speakers, trying to join efforts with us to make sure we answer your needs of any subject that you would like help with. So, and we also, please, Yani, give us your comments of what other subjects you would like us to, to cover on the next weeks. Also, yeah, Alejandra? Yes, please, go ahead, yes.
So good afternoon. It's a pleasure being here with you today, and I'm so thankful for Tahani because, and I just as a human being overall, my God, she's great. She's awesome. I don't know how she does it and keeps up with everything. She really does have, thank you. Yes, thank you. Let me tell you, I have yet to meet another individual that has the best interest at heart for the community. When I say that, I think we should have Tahani's picture in the dictionary or somewhere. But in a nutshell, she reached out and said, you know, Alejandra, I want to bring every week, I want to have a topic that informs the community about something important. And so we drafted up a list. I mean, we have like 46 topics already lined up, okay? But one of the things which, oh my God, God bless her for that, is that we will be providing food certification classes for those of you that are interested maybe in pursuing some sort of like career or job in the restaurant industry. You know that you have to be a certified food handler for that. And sometimes those classes can cost up to $140 if you want to become certified. Well, guess what? Tahani, being the wonderful person that she is, went above and beyond and said, you know, we're going to figure out a way where we can pay for some of the program or some of the classes. So instead of you guys paying, she will, I don't know how we're gonna do it, but when she says she's gonna do it, trust Tahani, she will do it. So for the next 3 or 4 sessions on Tuesdays, we will give you a short introduction to what the classes will be like, because normally you take, it's like a 3-day course, and after the 3rd day, you have to take an exam, and if you don't pass it, you don't pass it. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we kind of prepare you a little bit in advance. So that's what we're just going to briefly touch on. And I thought we were going to be able to project it on the screen, but we're not. But guess what? So today we're just going to do a brief introduction of what you will learn in these classes is how to avoid cross-contamination and how to properly store food in the refrigerator once you've made your groceries or even in a restaurant, okay? So cross-contamination is when you transfer, the transfer of harmful bacteria to food from other foods. And I'll give you, because we're so short on time, I thought we were going to be able to touch up on it a little more, but so for example, I don't know how many of you can see from back there, but at least to give you a general picture, here is a perfect example of what cross-contamination would be. So here we have raw vegetables with raw meat, whether it's beef, whatever, hot dogs, and things. So when you're at home or even in a restaurant setting, most so, they have like different colors or different cutting boards. You cannot use a cutting board that you're cutting chicken with to cut up lettuce. So in other words, you can't ever mix food that has not been cooked with like lettuce or tomatoes that you're just going to toss right away into a salad, because the harmful like bacteria from that can be contaminated. So therefore you use clean cutting boards, you use different cutting boards for different things, the cutlery, etc. And then another little nice thing is when you store, whether you're in a restaurant or even for you at home, when you're out grocery shopping, for example, me, when I go and I buy chicken or fish or whatever it is, meat, I make sure that I put that in like 2 plastic bags and I seal it up so that none of those, like there could be a potential rupture of the package and that stuff, like that liquid seeps into like my vegetables or my fruit or anything else. When you refrigerate stuff, and in the class, they will show you how to properly refrigerate items. So they'll tell you, for example, like your fruits and your milk, dairy products, maybe in the middle section. Your meats must always be at the very, very bottom section. And if you have the drawers where the food or the fruits or the vegetables are, those are covered, right? So if it seeps through, it's not going to get in through there. But here it just gives us an example. This is chicken already ready to cook, ready to eat, I'm sorry. And someone just accidentally put some red meat on the top shelf, but that blood from the meat is dripping down onto the cooked chicken that's ready to eat. Okay, and it just gives you, or even if you're sick or when you're handling food, first of all, you always have to have clean hands. And when you are handling items, you never ever like cough or sneeze directly or around the food. If you have to, you do it sideways, and you must wash your hands. So these are some of the things that you will expect to see. This is just a very, very brief introduction into that course, because we don't want, for those of you that are interested in taking that certification program, we don't want you to go into that class and not, and I will have this here because one of the ladies said that she'll make copies and she'll have it available if you want to kind of start reviewing it. The goal is for you to get into that class and pass the exam and become a certified food handler, okay? And just to close up, I want to touch, with Fairfax County, there is an agency called the Area Agency on Aging. And there's a number, kind of like it's an information line, but it's also for resources. If you know anyone that's an older adult, they will help you find adult day health care centers, or if you suspect that a senior citizen is being abused, just like we have child protective services, we also have adult protective services, so you can give them a call. They can help you with in-home care or find in-home care, health insurance counseling for older adults, Meals on Wheels, where if you can't get out and do your grocery shopping, they will either go out and help do grocery shopping or deliver meals to your home for those that need it, a person with a disability or a senior. They can also help you find transportation to doctor's appointments or any sort of appointment that you need. So the Area Agency on Aging is a great resource. Here's a brochure. It tells you what they cover, what they offer. They've provided, which it will be here at Al-Hijrah, so anyone that wants to come and find out how you can, be better informed, either you take care of a parent or you're a caregiver or you're a senior yourself. There's all sorts of information: adult education, aging in place, art and creativity. There's a whole list of things that this brochure, 55 or older, yes, So you have this here. There's also a golden cassette, a source book. There's all sorts of information and resources available at your fingertips, and Sister Tahani will have this here for you. And don't forget to kind of start reviewing this if you want a copy, because those classes are, Tahani will talk more about it, but we will have CPR and first aid certification as well, and that's sooner before this. So thank you so much. Any questions? I'm sorry?
Yes.
There is a website that you can go onto, so it's fairfaxcounty.gov/older adults. And there is a phone number here too. You just give them a call, 824-30. They are there to answer your questions. Oh no, because those classes are either 6 hours long each. So the question is, how do the food certification classes work? Normally it's 3 classes and 2 of 6, and then the other one is like 4 hours. They do a review, and then you take the exam. So Sister Tahani has said that that's why we're doing a brief introduction at the end of each session, so those that are interested can start preparing yourselves, so that way you can succeed and you can pass you can achieve it and pass the exam. And I think Tahani said that she would open it up so that we would do it. We couldn't do it in 2 hours because we'd have many classes, but the classes would be on Saturdays, so they would be Saturday sessions. Normally they want you to be in a classroom setting with an instructor, and so you have to be in the class and take the exam with an instructor, and we can do it in a paper version, or we can do it online. I find it a little more effective for some people on the paper version. But yes, so to answer your question, you have to sit through the classes with an instructor, and then you take the exam because it has to be a supervised exam. Actually, I think it would be more beneficial if we do the class in Arabic, and then if we have a class in Spanish, because I know that there are some other community members that said that they're interested. So I think it would be most beneficial that way. And yes, we can make it happen.